It's up, guys. Metal571 here today, and we're going to be talking about the Audeze SINE headphone. This is a really interesting headphone because I don't think I've ever reviewed an on-ear before, although I've heard some and pretty much immediately dismissed most of them. This is a really different on-ear. Well, first of all, what is this intended for? This is an on-ear portable headphone, as I just said, but it's also a planar magnetic on-ear headphone. Maybe the first ever, actually. It's a closed back, of course, because it's a portable. And as you can see, I can even hold it in one hand. I mean, how many times have I been able to do that on this channel? Other than, like, fumbling with the thing. My massive closed backs and massive full-size open backs. Yeah, this thing is way more compact. And doesn't weigh like 600 pounds like the other Audeze I just reviewed because it's an on-ear. So really good design. And speaking of the design, in fact, this was designed by a subsidiary of BMW. You may have heard of that brand at some point in your life. And yeah, they did a really nice job. It's really well designed. Build quality is very good. Genuine leather on the ear pads and the headbands. Just made of really strong feeling materials, just really solid. You can adjust it like this to fit your head. It's a smooth adjustment, no clicks. I don't know, I just really like that. It's a nice touch. So what do you get with it? You get, by default, you will get this cable, which is a flat kind of a cable and has a 3.5mm on one end with stereo, no mic included on this cable, and then you have the two individual these are mono 3.5mm cables, or are they 2.5mm? Actually, let's find out right now. No, it looks like 3.5mm mono on these. So the way this works is kind of a little bit interesting. So first of all, you have to figure out which one's right and left, which is always a problem with these things. R is on this side, L is on this side, the way I'm holding it, and then these say R and L on them, and there's a little bit of braille as well. And in the back here, there's some openings, if you guys can see that, and you just put the cable in here. But it's interesting because it's like, you can see the angle on this thing, and you have to put it in like this, and then it clicks in. So when you pull down, nothing is going to happen because the cable comes out at a different angle. So that's a pretty good design. It's just unique. I've never seen, you know, an angled cable that you know, angle before. So that goes in both sides. That normally comes with it. Also has a, of course, 1/4-inch adapter, so you can plug into something more high-end. And then I have, at least in this one, the optional Audeze Cypher cable. This is a lightning to dual mono, but it also has in here a built-in DAC amp DSP and a microphone on the back. And there's volume up, down, play, pause, next track, previous track, fast forward, go back, all of those functions in this one button in the middle. And this is iOS only, by the way, of course, since obviously this is a lightning cable. So interestingly enough, anyone who knows me knows I am like super against Apple. But I, thankfully, one of my friends has a iPad mini 2 that he lent me. It's sitting over there charging. So I was able to try it with the Audeze app. And the results, yeah, they were pretty good. I'll talk about the sound, of course, as usual, in a little bit here. But first, I want to mention the comfort. Now, this is the only thing I'm pretty much going to say in this review that's a little bit negative. Now, this is an on-ear headphone. So obviously, if you're already used to on-ear headphones, you may be okay with this. But for someone like me, with larger ears and wearing glasses, this is really not going to last too long on my head before it becomes uncomfortable. Now, the ear cups are designed pretty well. There's just obviously not enough room in here to fit your ear. Basically this goes above the back of your ear, and then this ends up on the bottom earlobe. So that really annoys me over long periods. I was able to wear them long enough, obviously, to evaluate the sound properly. So it's not impossible, and I feel like you could get used to them, even if you're not used to them. But this is a big but in terms of you should buy these, but I would definitely buy them from somewhere you can return if you're not sure. about on-ear headphone comfort, because that is really the only true downfall going on here. Now, with that spoiler out of the way, in terms of how the rest of the review is going to go, let's talk about the bass. So, how is the bass on these? Really, really nice. Actually, it extends very low, as you would expect from a planar magnetic driver. But the interesting thing is, without the Audeze Cypher cable, which the Cypher cable is the one with the lightning and the built-in DAC, the bass is quite lean. It's linear, but for me, of course, it's lean, as I've talked about before. I expect a boost below 200 hertz by about 3 or 4 dB. It does not have that. It follows the usual Audeze tradition of having just a straight line bass on a graph. But what's interesting is, and somehow this is never noted anywhere, I'm going to talk about the sound with and without the Cypher cable, by the way, and how you can kind of get the same sound from the Cypher cable as without it, from like a traditional source. So with the Cypher cable, and this is, as I said, this is never mentioned anywhere, I don't know why, but when you use the cable with an iOS device, and you use Audeze's app with their DAC and DSP, you have an automatic bass boost built in. Tile mentioned this in InnerFidelity. It gives you about 3 or 4 dB below, I'd say 200 hertz, 100 hertz, something like that. And so it brings the bass right up to levels that I think most people will be fine with. It's not super ridiculous, it's not beats, but you know, it's there, and it's punchy, and it's nice. If the track is mastered well, it'll come out very well, goes really deep, detailed, everything. Pretty much no issues there for the price and for what this thing is, an on-ear, which is crazy. The sound I'm describing here is like so different from any other on-ear, and I want you to keep that in mind throughout this review. This is a really unusual headphone to be on-ear. It really sounds like I'm going to be talking about a full-size closed back here, but it's a small on-ear planar magnetic. Alright, so the bass is very good, just the right amount with the Audeze Cypher cable. If not, you can use my EQ in the description with equalizer, APO, and piece. Mid-range. Very uncolored. I think the mid-range here is really, really good, really well voiced. It's just correct in timbre. However, it's still lacking just a little bit at 500 hertz and 1 kilohertz. Tile suggested, and I totally agree with his Audeze app EQ settings, that you boost those two by 1 dB, and I've done that. It sounds good. You know, it's not really 100% necessary, but it gives you a little bit more body to vocals. But otherwise, I find it's right on. It's bang on. Just absolutely just correct sounding. This is not a flavor headphone, really. This is a very, very accurate headphone for the most part. But yeah, with the Audeze app, you can adjust EQ with that Cypher cable. I should mention that. And so it does not include any modifications other than the bass by default, but you can adjust the EQ. If you look at Tile's review on InnerFidelity, you'll see a screenshot of the app. Works pretty well, easy to install, easy to use, typical Apple stuff. So the mid-range is very uncolored. I think it's good, it's fast, no problems with detail considering closed backness and price range. Absolutely just right. Treble is a little bit boosted here. I think there's a little bit of a peak, maybe 2 or 3 dB at 10K, and the air is a little bit hot as well, so it comes off as kind of a glassy, super like clean, snappy, and just very, very glisteningly, slightly bright sound up in the treble, which I think will be nice for a really good whoa or wow factor at the Apple Store when you hear these, like, whoa, this is some seriously detailed stuff, and it is, but over long periods of time, I feel like that's going to fatigue me, so I drop it a little bit, and Tile did the same thing. He dropped 16K by about 5 dB, and I totally agree with that. I tried his settings. I was like, yep, that's it. That's right, and that is just exactly what I'm looking for, and that's a crazy thing to say. This is an on-ear headphone that sounds just perfect, like exactly the right sound signature for being what I think is an accurate and neutral headphone. That is craziness, because most on-ears have serious issues with resonance somewhere in the bass and wild and crazy graphs that measure way off, and this is just like, yep, we're gonna like just do right down the middle. And I was like, what? How is this even possible? It's really amazing. Amazing, guys. Isolation here, I think it's not think, it's superb. You pretty much, you know, as I mentioned in one of my other reviews before this one, you put it on your leg and it just like silences. So it's really good. It blocks a lot of noise. If you listen to music louder than average, you may not even bother people right next to it. It's possible. Just sit on a bus, you're listening to these and enjoying your music in your sanctuary, you probably won't be bothering people. So that's really good. Soundstage, another one of the only downsides here. This is a closed back. It isn't on ear. There's not a lot of room inside. At least it seems like the enclosure. So Soundstage is kind of limited. You're not going to get a great, huge, wide soundstage with crazy accurate imaging or anything here. It's a clean headphone, but it's not a very spacious sounding headphone. So that's what I think about that. Equalization effectiveness, very, very good, of course. I mean, it takes the bass boost just fine. It tells you something when Audeze even wants to increase the bass by default on the Cypher cable. So obviously, it can take some EQ in the bass. And of course, we're subtracting some treble here, so that's easy to deal with as well. No problem there. So overall, I mean, at $449 without the Cypher cable, where you can apply an EQ, totally worth it. At $499, including the Cypher cable, totally worth it. In fact, I'd go as far as to say, don't even think about buying another on-ear headphone other than this one. Go to the Apple Store and you buy it and you leave. Don't even think about buying something else. If you're looking at a on-ear and a high-end headphone in one package, this is it. There is pretty much nothing else out there that's going to sound this good as an on-ear. Kind of wild. So serious applause for you guys, Audeze. You did an amazing job doing these drivers. This is some of their newer driver tech. Doesn't suffer from the issues I mentioned in the LCD3 review. So I didn't have any problems with planar compression. It's got a nice slam, good dynamics, very clean sound, very close to neutral by Harman standards. It's got the app, you know, you got the cable with the mic and the inline DAC amp, DSP, equalizer. You have everything in one package. The only real downsides are that the soundstage doesn't sound like an open back HD800 and that the comfort isn't as good as an HD800. So, but you're also only paying $499. So yeah, you should probably buy this if you want an on-ear headphone and you're willing to spend that much. Because, man, I can't think of a better headphone that they could be made. So, nice job, Audeze, and that's what I think of the Audeze SINE. Go try them out. There are a bunch of them, I believe, at some local Apple stores, which, you know, are everywhere, at least where I live in the U.S. So, go check them out. I think you'll agree. And stay tuned for more reviews. Take care, guys.